Shivani, what's the time there?
It's 8:30.
8:30. Okay, so it's quite late for her.
Yeah,
So let's start. And as the viewers of the videos that I come up with, the live, they know that I don't introduce my guests myself, but I allow them to do that the way they want themselves to be introduced. So we will begin with Shivani, and she will take it from there.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Veda, for giving me this opportunity. This would probably be my first to moderate. I'm usually the one who's answering, so I have to remind myself that I have to keep quiet, which is quite a departure from the usual. So why I jumped at it was that the moment Veda mentions equality, so it's like a buzzword for me. For me, I think that is the most important thing that anybody can ever strive for, irrespective of genders, your professions, or I mean wherever we are, race, caste, in all aspects, I am the one who would be always standing for equality. I have known Vinod for a while. We've interacted quite a lot over various platforms. We find each other and we chat on threads of strangers as well. Of course, Rupali and Anjan was someone Veda talked about. And I'm very happy to have both of you. And I want to hear men's perspective because I have done a lot of talking and I kind of get women's perspective. So it would be really interesting to have two men as well pitching in. And I'm hoping for a very good discussion. So I'm over to Vinod and Preeti first to introduce themselves, and then Anjan and Rupali can take over.
Hey, thanks. Thanks to Veda Prana. And Acha, let me start. When you have asked us to introduce ourselves, there is one thing where there is no gender equality. It's always ladies first. So let Preeti introduce herself first.
Okay. What should I introduce? My name is Preeti. I work as a compliance officer for a company which does imports and exports. Other than that, I have a small kid who's 12 years old, which we still call a baby when he's no longer a baby. And he's in a teenage. And my life is full of work, home, and actually a lot of excitement because I enjoy my work. I don't take my work as a work, but I have a passion to work. And that's where when I met Vinod in the initial stages, like us as a love marriage. So that was one thing which I spoke about. I said, I love my work. It's like, it's not something which I get a pay out of it. I just enjoy working. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy talking. I enjoy doing the work really, really professionally and nicely. And I love it. So I don't want someone who sits at home and does nothing. So that is the reason when my son was born, I took an independent decision to go ahead and leave the job. I said I want to give my son like 3 to 4 years of my time because I want to do that properly. So I went ahead, I left the job, but within this 4 years, I completed my CS. I was already an MBA finance. But with that, I completed my CS because I wanted to learn something. I just did not wanted to sit at home and just take care of my baby. I said I have enough time. It's a small baby. I can easily take care of it. So after that, I came back. It was a struggle. It was really a struggle. I can tell you, ladies who leave the job and come back, it's tough. So that's part of it. So, but I have come back and I'm enjoying a lot. 3 4 years was a struggle, but last 2 years have been really really nice. And I can say my husband is really really supportful because there are times when I come at 9 and he doesn't ask me that I come. So and my parents are here, so they ask me, "How come you're so late?" So Punjabis, they are like very very clear. Hey, I mean, 6 baje khatam ho jata hai. How come you're so late? I'm like, Pa, offices don't get over by 6. For people who want to work. So he's very very supportive. That's all. My introduction is that I have not taken his surname. I still call myself Preeti Chhabra. That was the first I told him I'm an only daughter. I don't want to take your name. Is that wrong?
Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, I want to show my independence. I want to keep my surname. And why should I change my surname just because I've got married to somebody? So that's it. That's not a very small introduction, but this is just basically.
So Vinod, yes.
हाँ, तो 9 बजे होता है तो पूछता नहीं हूँ रात को, लेकिन हाँ 11 बजे होता है तो पिकअप करने जरूर जाता हूँ.
That is true. That is true.
So yeah, so I don't know. I mean, Shivani is already familiar. So basically, I was, in the BFSI industry. I was working in the corporate life till around 5 years back, and somewhere, especially when you're in Bangalore, the startup bug catches upon you, and there was a point of time when I decided to go ahead and pursue some business which could be looked at as a social business, in the sense, obviously there should be some long-term revenue from any business, but it should also have a positive impact on society. Something similar to what maybe Anjan is doing in the fitness business. So I got into co-founding a company in hydroponics. It's called Hyperfarms. So basically, we look at empowering people to do their own home farming as a hobby in their own flats or residences. Plus, on the larger scale, we also do commercial farming setups across India. And one thing I can always say is, like Preeti was saying, when she quit the job and I was being supportive. So obviously, the other side is also true, because once I get into the business, there is no such thing as a regular income which starts overnight. And I do acknowledge that none of us had planned the COVID lockdowns and other things, right? So, like Shivani had earlier said, both of us working independently, and not both of us leaving a steady job at the same point of time. So it's actually helped us support each other, and that's what the complete family is about, I guess.
All right. So, and what about you, Anjan and Rupali?
Okay, Rupali Sharma. Honestly, like Preeti mentioned, I haven't changed the surname. Honestly, we didn't even discuss this topic. Never came up. Now that I'm realizing, married for 10 years, long courtship. Before that, I think, So I stopped counting the number of years that we've known each other. Blessed with a adorable 3-year-old, human baby, and a 8.5-year-old 4-legged rescued Labrador. So that's our family. Professionally, I work as a director human capital with a leading fund in India, venture fund called Matrix Partners India. I think that the work also helps me identify and appreciate what my husband does, right? That is entrepreneurship. Takes immense courage to do that, right? And I think while the wife in me was a bit skeptical, right? But the professional in me appreciated the need and the passion. Personally, I'm a hands-on mother, very, very hands-on. I borderline control freak, OCD.
Absolutely.
I'm multifaceted personality. I like gardening and baking, shopping, and hanging out with my female friends and male friends, right? So I like to I think I'm a very checklist person. I like to do a lot of things, and that gives me a lot of adrenaline rush that I'm ticking off things. So yeah, professionally, personally, in a good space, mentally, and yes, I think had a fun of a time. Started with anxiety, but fun of a time cheerleading for what Anjan is building. And I keep telling him another few years, and you never know, I may just come back and join you full time, right? So fingers crossed to those plans. But currently, very, very proud of what he's doing and what he's building for. So yeah, so that's about me.
I'm the husband.
And what else do you do apart from husbanding?
So I run this company called Mind Your Fitness. We deliver services across the globe now, mainly in the lines of fitness and nutrition. This is not necessarily about just staying active or staying fit and all. We also take care of a number of medical conditions that are within our purview in terms of none of us being doctors around. We also address a number of corporates in terms of their workplace fitness or ergonomics, and sometimes team building activities, which are again aligned to fitness. We do not do those commercial team building activities and all. Similarly, for schools or institutes where if there are younger kids or slightly elder kids, depending on their expertise and age, we also conduct a number of events and activities for them. Besides that, I think in the last 4 years, that has been all that I have been doing, like cutting down on holidays, not being able to go anywhere, like getting all the brickbats from her. Earlier, I was in IT for a long time. I was into IT infrastructure. I've been into some 3-4 companies, and eventually had to come out of it. And it was not exactly a forced decision, but I wouldn't even say it was not a pretty easy decision. I think like it was the time of the year where I had to decide to quit my IT because of, we had travel. They wanted me to travel, and eventually ended up staying back and initiated the Mind Your Fitness, like created by Rupali, for at least some 4 or 5 months until I could really go ahead commercially. But yeah, eventually it took off, and things are better right now. At least I don't have to be responsible for anyone else. So that's me.
Okay, that is good to hear. So I'll just dive in straight. Either of you can answer, and the other spouse can just pitch in. But what is your idea of equality? Like maybe when we were growing up, things were very different. Almost, I think I can assume that we are all around or hovering around 40s. So 20 years ago, equality was a very different thing as against today. So how do you think you have evolved, and what is your idea of equality? So would Vinod and Preeti want to pick that up first?
Yeah, ladies first again.
No, either of you can, and the other one can pitch in, as I said.
That is not an equality.
You don't try to dodge all my questions. We want the men to speak today. Remember that.
Right. So let me share with you from my childhood. Right. So basically, when I used to spend a lot of time with my grandmother. So fortunately, my grandmother, when I was a toddler, she used to make me hang around with her while she used to bake the breads or cakes, and she used to make me chop vegetables and all those things. And I started enjoying being in the kitchen right from that age. Okay, so for me, it was very normal to be in any part of the house, and no part was different for men and women. And it's only later on in life I realized how progressive my grandma was. But I would always be indebted to her for bringing that from childhood as part of me. And basically that's how I grew up. So instead of saying how gender equality evolved in me, I would say it was instilled in me by.
Yeah, that's very precious and very rare, actually. I think Preeti will agree, and considering that she mentioned her Punjabi background, which is something I totally identify with. So, how was it for you, Preeti? How different was it for you growing up and living with
different, completely different. I have grown up in a a very, very orthodox kind of a family. Our family had come from Pakistan, and my grandparents, like, my mom put a step down saying that my daughter will not work in the kitchen because I want her to study. So that was the step she took, and she fought for it, because in our house, girls should just do this one thing, and studies happen. If you are intelligent, you will pass out and you'll do something good. But I had an advantage because I was an only kid. So my parents, in turn, has, in my house, the boys don't pick up a glass of water.
That sounds familiar.
It is very a different outlook. In fact, I'll give you one example, which is a very funny thing. We got married, and I came back home, and we used to take turns. He used to make atta and I used to make sabji. Okay, so my father called up and he said, "Beta, what is your husband doing? Okay, what is Vinod doing?" He starts with, and I said, "He's making atta, pa." He said, "Beta, naak kata hogi kya?" What will your husband? But speak to me, then you're getting. I said, "Pa, we do equal work. So at home, why should I ask him not to do it? We both work. I'm tired when I come back home." So that from that time on, I think my parents started accepting it. But I can see a gradual change in my family also. I'll not say now they are exactly the same.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was tough because cycles girls cannot ride. Scooters girl cannot ride. You cannot go out of the house after 5. You cannot speak to boys. I have studied in a co-ed. So I know I used to speak. I was a bindas tomboy. I used to speak to all the boys. But as soon as I leave the gate, I used to, that is like, okay, after that she will not speak to me. So that kind of a family I've come to. So yeah, it took time for me to make them adjust also. But I think slowly they have got adjusted to everything, and they know I'm a rebel completely. So they have given up hope on me. Next, what I will do, they don't know about it. So
नहीं वो वैसे भी as they say in Punjabi कि शादी हो गई फिर वो whatever the husband is saying is okay.
okay,
Endorsement मिल गया तो ठीक है. अभी वो now you're not a responsibility. You're there his
if
responsibility.
he's allowing you, it's fine.
All right. And how was it for both of you, Anjan and Rubari? What do you think equality is like? How it was for you
Yeah.
before you met and now over the years? How is it?
Firstly, I was saying, thank God we don't eat too many rotis and chapatis. So one part is taken care of.
Care of.
No, I think like in our family, things have been very different. I mean, like there is work, whoever is available, go get it done. Else, everybody gets equal amount of scolding. I mean, not about just us kids. It's everyone. Like any age, any agenda, everybody does work. I think that's what I've seen growing up, and I'm sure it's a similar at her family also. I've met her family, most of the family members, in fact, and like all of them work. I don't see somebody shying away, or as Preeti mentioned, like I wouldn't say that's unfortunate. That's the tradition. I think that's a different culture altogether. But it has been absolutely on an equality basis. I cannot exactly say it's equal or not equal, but people do work. It's not about shying away from doing something. It's not about big work or small work. Like, I mean, like not that I discuss only political issues of India and Rupali does the housework. It's nothing of that sort. So it's that's what we have grown into. Even today, it's not that we do 50-50 work share, but I think I kind of end up helping quite a bit. At least I know I take care of the house during the day, and then she comes back and she does it in the evening. That's also because of my work and nature of my work. I stay home most of the day, and she goes to work. And otherwise, I don't know. It's very difficult for us to define. What I believe in exactly is not about agreeing to each other about things. It need not be in agreement. We fight a lot.
That we don't, honestly.
I want to go there, and she says, nah, not there. Maybe we go eat somewhere else. I mean, it's not about agreement. It's also about compromising at a lot of levels. It's okay, we eat here today, and next time when we go, we eat there tomorrow. So, I mean, I think that understanding is more important than just, you feel bad, of course. But that's okay. I think like you feel bad for a couple of days, and then like the next moment that, okay, I'll go to the other restaurant. It's all good. So,
No, I think for me, equality is respect. Across, not only for husband, right? And because we had a long courtship, and I come from a family, we didn't have boys. We had 3 sisters. My dad definitely was not in minority in a very, very bad way, right? I come from a very, very small, humble background, so very, very proud of that roots, right? So you really have to fight your way out, right? Which means that you're trying to just fight your way out of the society, break out. So you're trying to be more cautious around any decision, right? So marriage definitely was strategic decision also back of your mind, right? So, but I think one big thing, because it was a long courtship, I knew, was the fact that Anjan's family, in the sense, his mother is a gynecologist herself, right? And I've seen education makes a lot of difference. How Ma would look at, not get bogged down about small stuff in the kitchen, right? Would give me a lot of confidence. I remember my mother-in-law was the first one who told me that you have to start driving because, Anjan used to travel so much, and the car would just keep lying around and I would be, dependent on cabs. And he said, and she was like, why aren't you, learning how to drive? My mother was conscious that, are you sure? Are you? So I think for us, it was different. For me, one of my biggest cheerleader is my mother-in-law, right? For her to stand behind and say, so whenever I get my promotions and all, he gets the first call. My mother-in-law gets the second call because I know I have to explain all these things to my parents because promotion kya hota hai, ab naya kya hoga. Because my mother-in-law knows a lot of this. I don't have to explain. So I know the calls would be short and appreciative, right? But, just to give you a sense, for me, I think it's a lot about respect. I think we've reached a stage now, we don't haggle after small thing. I am a control freak, so I know that I like doing a lot of things the way I do, and he makes life easier for me by not intruding into how I want to do things. But I think we have help, and so I don't, we don't bother about a lot of small things, right? So I don't say ki maine nahi kiya. Okay, so I don't expect him to tell me how to cook or something, right? We'll have a help to do it because my work takes a lot of my time.
Yeah,
So
I cook at times.
you do definitely. It's good, not veg. There are days.
He has to butt that in.
Yeah,
But
but I
has
think
to go on record that
yeah, more complimentary, Shivani and Veda, in the sense, there are times, so we plan our weeks, okay? We plan that Monday, Tuesday, you're going to drop the baby to school, right? Because I have to go early. So, or some other day, I'm going a bit late, right? So I'll drive down a bit late. So you'll have, so I think we plan our day in such a way that, so next week I have two late nights, right? And I'm planning that entire 2 days with him in the sense, how will he manage?
logistics.
It's all about sitting together and planning it out. Kaam hote rehna chahiye.
At the end of the week, she will have a checklist like, okay, Anjan picked the baby, yeah. Did you go on time? Yes. So that happens.
But then I'm the one who's managing I'm the project manager, by the way. I just have to tell him today you have to pick him up.
So after this, please mail me one of your checklists. I'll keep that as a prototype and as a justification for my OCD. So see, I'm not the only one who does that. There are others and they're doing it well.
No, there are, believe
It's a
me,
workable model.
you guys are entrepreneurs, right? There is such a big use case around to be able to create this tool which can help people like me and Shivani and Preeti to manage home and life and work and husband and babies. Oh my God, believe me, there would be immense monetization option for those.
See, she was just taking control of the house right now. Now she's wanting to take control of the husband and the kid and everything. See,
Yeah.
you can never win.
The only thing that is hurting me here, Veda, is that these two are the dream couples, sort of. The trouble is that my next question doesn't hold any water, sort of, because I wanted to ask you, like, when you were dating or when you were going around, so when was it an implied thing but I think I've got the answers that equality has always been in the equation. So, Veda, would you like to say anything about that? Because there are quite a few people who don't get that kind of luxury. So, what would you suggest for people like those? Because seems like both of you, in both the cases, you've had it sorted out, not just today. I mean, over the years, you've just fine-tuned something that was always there. And you talk about respect, you talk about education, you talk about support, and as Vinod said, that it was instilled. So definitely, yes, your grandmother was, thanks to her that, we have men like you. But what would you suggest for people who it's not in the equation? When maybe, when we get married at that point of time, and often in arranged marriages especially, when you don't know what you're really getting into. Things seem very nice during that one cup of tea and kanda pohas, and I don't know how marriages happen these days. Because I also escaped that cycle. But howsoever it is, it's probably in a few meetings or even less. So you don't know what you're getting into. In that case, what would you suggest to those couples, especially husbands, I would say, because whatever we might say, I think we can agree that women do get the short end of the stick more often than not. So what would you tell the husbands about equality and why they should be doing it? In fact, what's in the deal for them? Why should they be bothering about equality? So would Vinod like to take it up, or whoever? One of you just.
So, it's actually now that you have asked this question that I've started thinking on these lines. It just didn't occur to me because probably
Yeah, because we've taken it for granted. I mean, even for me, it's the same thing. That's why I ask.
So when I look at it that way, it may seem controversial, but I strongly feel that it's a reality that any arranged marriage is a very big gamble. You just don't know what you're going through, right? To that extent, I would say even in love marriage, unless we have actually honestly interacted, it is as good or as bad as an arranged marriage, right?
Absolutely.
If the dating has happened at a pretentious level, reality is bound to come after. Uh, you know. So on a joking sense, during our dating time, both of us did agree that it is better to be with a known devil than an unknown angel,
I
and
know.
that's why we decided to marry. Simple as that.
Yeah.
But somewhere I think uh, you know if someone, for example, I think it's difficult because of the male ego which does exist, right? There are times when my alpha male ego rises up and then she'll whack me and put me down in place, but it happens, right? Maybe genetically, whatever it is, it does happen. So in a place where if the male is dominant and it's been instilled and the same thing continues, especially when the couple live as a unit family, I think there's a whole lot of big challenge for the woman to go through, as well as change that for the sake of their own marriage and their children's future. I don't know. I mean, probably a psychologist or a psychiatrist can answer this
I
better.
would like to say one thing out there.
Yeah.
I have cousins who have got into the arranged marriage and they have lovely marriages. The one thing I've seen between love and arranged marriages where it is it, the best part is communication. If you can communicate, you can speak to your spouse, telling this is not something I like or this is not I want to do. That means a lot of time we have a stereotype, that women should not speak too much in the house. They should have the opinions to themselves. And that's where the problem arises. Like, I don't like something, I just tell him. I said, even in love marriage, if you are not open to each other and you try to, suppress saying that, no, he's my husband, I love him, I should not say, it will hurt him. That doesn't work out.
And
It
that's
will
not
hurt.
equality anyway.
It's not
That's
about
right.
equality, it's about being open with the other individual, staying in the same house. And how long can you suppress yourself? Maybe 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, that lady will scream and shout at her husband. So we should never do that. First year onwards, I don't like this. I don't want to move ahead with it. It's as simple as that. And if you don't like it, let's adjust somewhere in between. We can come in the middle path and we can say, okay, fine, we can both adjust on this line. But if we are not communicating, it doesn't work. It's my opinion. I feel that is one thing which is very important in anything. It is between brother and sister also.
Yeah, any relationship coming unless there's communication, it's a dead end. What do you think, Anjan? Why would you advocate equality? Why do you think your marriage has? I'm sure that you feel your marriage is working well and better than those where you might not see as much of equality. So, what would you suggest to people? What is the incentive for equality?
Contrary to what Preeti just mentioned about communication, I'm a very, very poor person when it comes to communicating. I cannot say things. Sometimes I get scared she might scold me or shout at me, but then most times I just...
He's not creating a very good image of me.
I mean, no, मतलब गलती से कुछ और बोल दिया फिर डांट पड़ेगी तो इससे अच्छा है like stay quiet. But then the something which is part of communication is I think listening. I am a very good listener. I'm patient and I'll take it all, and then probably I'll just silently do the things in the background sometimes not. But then yes, to me, I think yeah, absolutely, communication is necessary. At least if the other person is talking or not, if you are bold enough, you go and speak your heart out. The other person is listening at least. But more than that, like I think there is a big difference between just being as a couple and being as a married couple. Staying together under the same roof makes a lot of difference. There's a lot of responsibilities that come into place, and which do not exist prior to that. Prior to that, you are only responsible for yourself. Now you are responsible for the two people, and vice versa. And that understanding has to be there. Like if you go by traditional patriarchal society rules, like, of course, you are a woman, stay in the kitchen. Why do you come out? We have seen instances in our societies. There are people like who actually comment on women like, why have you come to play badminton in the clubhouse? Your work is in the kitchen. Like, you're not even supposed to be here in the first place. And on top of it, you're debating with us. This is a real incident. Like, obviously, I cannot name people here. But this has happened. And then similarly, so many other things. But that is the thing. You have to break the stereotype. And unless you take an initiative, you cannot expect there would be like, unless, one person is a master and slave relationship more than a marriage, actually. Otherwise,
Right.
And then there are like a lot of perks in being respectful, as Rupali said, to each other. I know she gives me a lot of gifts. That's a fact.
Yeah, that's a.
You've literally taken the meaning of incentive out of my question.
Yeah.
You earned
I'm glad.
get it.
Yeah.
Of course.
But I'll tell you what, I think, while he's trying to make it a bit, casual, but I think the incentive is also in the fact that, we are very different people, right? And that's why I think two different people can get together. Say, he likes socializing a lot. I like I'm selective, right? He is, I'm very good with finances. He is very splurging, he is very open with his finances, right? So in terms, so what we've decided is we'll work on our strength, we'll bring that to the relationship. Say, for example, I'm very bad in managing, if somebody's birthday is there, right? Very close friend, and I know that back of my mind I have to buy a gift, right? And because, because I'm not very good at it,
I'm the creative one, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So
in other words,
right brain, left brain, right? And that's how it has worked out. So, but to take your first question, Shivani, I think not everybody would be very extroverted, right? And not everybody would have that benefit of a long courtship. But I think every relationship will have some non-negotiables. I think if I'm mentally prepared to get into a marriage which is going to be long term, I would know my non-negotiables. मुझे काम करना है, मुझे ये करना है, right? So I think the mistake that we make is we talk everything apart from the non-negotiables, right? We talked about love and everything. We don't talk about the key thing, right? If we as a couple want to go for a kid, when will we decide, or the parents decide, or the parent-in-law decide, right? So I think some of those discussions have to be very, very clear, even if it's like 3-pointer, before you get into, at least you know where both parties stand in those non-negotiables. I think that makes everything, so everything else are noise, okay, it will go around it. But if you're very clear on those few factors, right, everything else can be worked around. So at least I was very clear, I want to work, I want to do this, I want to have this, right? Some of it were very clear, and I think we both agreed on, some of those principles. And I think everything else were more superficial to be managed after that.
You're right. Actually, I like the use of word non-negotiable because Preeti mentioned something similar a few minutes ago, that I had to be doing my job. So the emphatic way she said it made it very clear that it was non-negotiable. And that is, I often get this, that, a lot of people tell me, oh, you know exactly what you want. It's not like that we know it at all times. But yes, having a clarity helps, and communicating what you want has to come into the equation. That is something that I appreciate in both of you, and something that it resonates with me so well that I completely understand. And as you said, that everything else is just noise. So when I think of, my courtship was very short. It was, within 6 months, it was pack up. Like, from knowing him to marrying him, there is just a 6 months thing. So we always say that, we were not putting our best foot forward. We were always putting our foot in the mouth. So we were doing all the wrong things because we didn't probably have the time. So it was like, it was all, our hearts were bared out to each other, and it has helped. So I do believe that, yes, non-negotiables have to be on the table, and everything else is a noise. I think I will use this at some point of time. My daughter often says, be very careful what you talk to mama, because she might use it in her next article.
Feel free.
So I'll give you the credit for that, and I really like that. I mean, the way you've put it across.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. I recall watching it in a movie or some documentary where they were talking about marriages, arranged marriages and all, wherein like they said like it's very absolutely okay to ask what are we going to do after marriage? How are we going to be? Are you going to cook? Are you going to help me wash clothes? Are you going to do these 10 items and I'm going to do these? I think this is a reality, right? You cannot be in a dream all the time thinking like everything's gonna be a fairy tale. It doesn't work that way. So I don't know, like it's not that we did that, but I just remembered that like when she
No,
mentioned.
it's right. I mean, in interviews, how we are asked, where do you see 5 years from now? I think it's almost on the similar level that when you're getting into a partnership, you need to know what you're getting into.
Yeah. And I think as women, right, we sometimes self-victimize very subconsciously,
Oh, yeah.
right? And I've done, I would like to believe that, I don't subconsciously do. And many a time, maybe the other person isn't even thinking, gender agnostic. I remember the current role that I am in, right? It was around the time, Ruan, my son was just born, right? And when they first called me, I thought that and first, my first response to them was, I just had a kid, right? Because back of the mind, I thought they will say no after that. And the fact that it didn't matter to them was such an high. None of them even, and it was a pack of boys, venture capitalist is a boys club at the top, right? And it didn't matter. But back of my mind, I would always say that a new mother, dur raho, right? That this is the image I had. So I think we tend to subconsciously self-victimize also as women, and we hope we stop.
You're right. Point of it is, I mean, I of course say that we should avoid that, but to an extent that is true as well. I mean, to give just sometimes I realize my privilege to have an equal marriage. Not everybody, and I know quite a few. Veda knows much more than me. I mean, she has a big group. 70,000 women are a part of your group. So, and I can see, I mean, you just have to visit that group once and you realize the privileges that you take for granted. But then I think it's about raising our benchmarks, and unless we talk about them, we cannot raise the bar. So, which brings me to the next question that, like you talked about your hidden bias. Similarly, so there are so many hidden biases. When you started off at work or at home, I mean, with your in-laws or with your parents, and with society at large, both of you, what sort of biases that come with gender roles that came your way? Were you told, were the men looked down upon if they were picking up the glass of water or fetching a glass of water? Or how was it? How is it for you? Do you face that often, or we've moved past that and maybe Bangalore is a much woke place than rest of India? How is it?
Yeah, so I think, speaking from the man's point of view, unfortunately, when it comes to being with a family with a more traditional background, I stand privileged because damad ko thoda pamper kiya jata hai. It's a different thing that I'll put on weight every time I go to my in-laws' place, right? So, but then, I mean, I guess initially they did find it strange to see me walking to the kitchen and all those things. But finally, they accepted it. And in fact, the first time post-marriage, when I went to their place, it was a joint family. And I think it was first day, I sat in one place, all the smiles and all that. The second day, I walked into their kitchen and I said, "Main kya karu?" Right? And she was saying, "Arey, chup raho thoda sa." But then,
I can imagine the horror on their faces. I mean, I think of my family. Oh my God, that must be a moment.
My uncles were scared. My aunts will ask the same thing.
but then over a period of time, it is, in any case, it may sound like a cliche, but the marriages, it is never between two individuals. It is finally between two families.
That's right.
So, over a period of time, we gel, we understand each other's culture, and things evolve. Right now, I think my mother-in-law and father-in-law, at least my mother-in-law, I remember, she relishes my cooking once in a while.
I was about to ask, so whose cooking is more popular? a bit with the in-laws? Yours
I
or
mean, obviously, she does, my mother-in-law herself does most of the cooking because my father-in-law will only eat when she cooks. Okay,
Not
so,
mine. He doesn't like my food also.
so
He just wants my mom's food. So,
yeah, but for the rest of us, I mean, we cook. I mean, obviously, Preeti is a much better cook than me. But then I do.
I
I'm
didn't know of your cooking, Vinod. I have to say here, I mean, how first Vinod and I had spoken were over a recipe of fritters. He had
ah,
baked them. I still haven't got the look that the picture that he had put. But I'm waiting for the day कि मेरे किस दिन वैसे बने और and I share a picture with him. And I actually talk about ragi dosas and I've started making them, by the way, the way
oh
you
yeah,
told.
fantastic.
And
Yes, you
every
have
time
to
I
do
see
that.
those goals coming up, I
Hmm.
think of you and I thank you silently. I think I should send you a picture. So
Oh,
what I so I mean I for me since we are talking about how society is affected, for me Vinod's example especially has been a huge inspiration. When I see him, and it's so normal when he's so we had a food group where we used to often interact. He's one of the few men who very actively participates, and for even a moment it doesn't feel like I'm talking to a man. The gender is no longer relevant, and that is something that I really wish to see in the years to come. So, which is why I mean I asked, so like what are the kind of biases that you had to tackle with, or if things have been smooth with you Anjan and Rupali?
I can't recall anything actually. If I am talking about my in-laws, no.
The neighbors.
He got, I think the reality is he also got pampered. Okay, he gets
No,
pampered.
that's
I
true,
think
but
any
say,
son-in-law in India will get pampered.
no,
I think that.
I know that.
think,
Yeah.
like, I didn't see any form of bias really. It was just pure love, I think, and nothing else. I mean, they took me as a son. And
I think I saw some bias from my side. I'll tell you what. My mother, albeit, had grown 3 daughters, with a lot of pride, but after we got married, and then she would listen to me, and the way we would maybe bicker and argue on some topic, and my mother, I remember, took me once, and I was telling him, and she said, "Why are you talking to him like this?" And I said, "Why?" Uh, but I'm right, and she wanted to, somewhere down the line, I think she wanted me. There is an image that I wasn't fitting in, right? Because and I think the bias was more from her, and she still can't. Sometime now that she's seen us for 10 odd years,
yeah.
she's still.
She's not seen me in her natural state, like when Rupali is like.
You really aren't helping my image today, by the way.
Yeah, he is utilizing the platform to voice his
Yeah.
stand.
Yeah, no, not that I'm a henpecked husband, but then
You aren't.
but I have my fears.
So basically, Rupali has given up self-victimization only for Anjan to pick it up. It seems like that. So he is taking it to another level today.
I have no complaints really. I'm like, see, I as I said, like I have my perks of being where I am, so I'm happy with that.
No, Anjan, you can't have best of both worlds. You want to be the victim, and you want to be magnanimous as well. Somewhere by the end of this, and we still have 20 odd minutes to go. By the end of this, I think we'll have to come to a conclusion which side you're picking up.
Let's keep it a little easy on that aspect.
Well, I'll tell you what, because Vinod's example, right? I think I do appreciate that, and I think that's where the responsibility on us lies as mothers, as parents, right? I have a son, and I have been teaching him Mata Chilna. Gone are the days when you had, Mata Chilna was a competency in a good, to be married girl. But he does it, and he tells me, I say, I'll tell him pick up a garbage bag so that we can keep it outside. There are 2 bags. So I think the good part is we identify the problem that there exists, and there has to be a shift change, right? And that chores are gender agnostic. This is more, it's not that he will have to do it irrespective of whether he gets married, not married, whether he is a partner. Because those are just basic element of growing up and life, right? I think so I think those are things that I want to bring to the next generation, and I can only do it by changing that small life that I can impact, right? And I hope, a lot of people like me and Preeti our effort will change the paradigm in the next generation.
I have a very selfish thing to say before I think Vinod have to say something, but I'll just button once. That when I got to know, I know about Vinod that they have a 12-year-old son, and I got to know that you have a 3-year-old as well. Very selfishly speaking, I was like, okay, 2 brand ambassadors for gender equality are getting ready. Literally, that was my thought when I read about both of you today. And I was like, okay, two people at least will be better off than the rest of their generation maybe. Because I have a daughter.
Yeah, I was
for me, it's a different ball game altogether.
Yeah.
For you, I think the job in a way is tougher because you have an additional baggage that you have to fight that as well. But of course, both of you are putting up wonderful examples. So your son is still younger. I don't know how does your son feel about it, Vinod? Does he feel his house is different from his friends' houses, neighbors, or does he feel the difference? Or again,
Fortunately not. So,
has he ever compared?
this is normal for him.
It's normal because see, Bangalore is a place where I think most of the houses is the same kind of lifestyle. We don't have that kind of stuff. So I don't think he doesn't even recognize the difference between genders at the moment. He's like, okay, I have friends, boys and girls. And yeah, I sometimes do tell him this because I have heard that line quite a lot as I was a kid. That तुम्हारा पति तुमको क्या बोलेगा सीख लो सब कुछ अभी. I have heard that line from childhood as a Punjabi girl. So I keep telling him, learn everything. I don't want my daughter-in-law to say a one word that तुमने ये नहीं किया. So I take the other way around. I said, I don't want my daughter-in-law to be unhappy. So you better start taking care of things at home right now so that she be happy on the later. So I do.
So at least two boys are being taken care of. They'll be the. So maybe when Veda and I are older, we'll moderate one session with both of them.
Very
I think the way you bring them up makes a lot of difference, right? What you just said, like if you hone their skills in terms of how they need to grow up and how they should be when they are grown up, I think it makes a lot of difference. They see that your household. I hope Ruwan would start to identify our place also to some extent. But I think that makes a lot of difference, and these kids can become influencers for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
No, I think I over-prepared. I remember, I wanted to be so gender agnostic, right? And I got gender-neutral toys for him initially, so that, so that I am not the kind of mother who's giving him pink and blue, right? But I have realized there is something called DNA, and a male child will always pick up certain stuff, right? And I used to get him toys, which is maybe, dolls and stuff also, just to understand, right? Will a kid. But then I think the learning enlightenment is that male kid tend to pick up the guns over
This
something.
is okay. I mean, we don't have. What is the point of having gender fluidity?
Correct.
And differences is a different thing. I think.
Yeah.
So and in fact, often I feel that we get it wrong.
Yes.
And we start equating it with the pink and blue sort of a thing.
Correct.
It's not about. That's a very superficial thing, so to say.
Yeah.
In
No,
fact,
it's
it's much deeper, and I feel that commercially, people get away by this overcoming the pink and blue and taking a yellow or something like that. I think it's an easy way out, but actually, equality is way deeper than just those.
Huge enlightenment. True.
One, I think we have a small rapid fire, but before that, there's one question because I often get that, and I want to hear what the women answer to that. I'm told I'm very lucky, and my husband should be put on a pedestal. I had spoken to about. So how have you handled it, Preeti and?
Happens. So yeah.
I don't think so. It's like
No, but do you get it often? Do you get to hear that you are a very lucky woman to have such a wonderful
and
husband?
that saying that, and I tell them stay with him for 10 days to come to know the reality. Everybody, we are human beings, and we don't accept each other's flaws. That's not right? We it's like it's not like just because he's my husband, he will not have his flaws. I know 110 flaws.
Absolutely.
And in 15 years, I have realized what they are. So I know how to move around them. That's all. But that doesn't mean that I put him I tease him sometimes. teased him quite a. When I want to really tease him, I'll say Pati Dev, and he gets irritated by it.
I was about to come to that word. My husband has a big thing. I mean, he develops hives when he hears this Pati Dev thing. So I always tell that I cannot put him on a pedestal. And but do you get to hear that as well, Rupali? That you're very fortunate.
I get that, and I think even in work, right? You generally said you're lucky, but I think I don't believe in luck. I do believe in engineered luck, right? In the fact that there has been a lot of effort gone behind where you are.
Very true.
Right words spoken at the right time, not spoken at the right time, and compassion when needed, and a lot of aggression when needed. I think that's what relationship is all about, right? I think had I been always quiet, or had I been always loud, had I been always anxious, had I been always aggressive, right? I think the relationship would have to convert it into something else. I think so. It's all, I believe in engineered luck. I think a lot has gone behind. Walking a mile, you walk a bit, I go back, and I walk faster here and you slow down, right? I think I think maybe now I might seem lucky, and I think I feel lucky to have the sense to be doing what we were doing, right,
So
together.
the credit goes to yourself, not to the husband. Most definitely.
Definitely
no, I
not.
think lucky to be
Anjan and I agree.
lucky to have a partner who understood and appreciated and complimented those efforts, right, from that point of view. Yeah, so definitely lucky from that point of view. But then, had I not set the right expectation from day one, had we not sit together and discuss a couple of things, right? I think I don't know, maybe we would have done things differently, right? And I think, lucky, engineered luck in a way. But blessed to be there in some form or the other. Luck indeed.
This is good to hear. Very heartening and completely resonate with it. I think we are towards the end of it. So very short, very quickly, because I know Vinod
May I
likes
pitch in for a minute? It was, you all were talking, it was so interesting that I just didn't say a word. So may I pitch in for a minute before?
Yes, of course. I was about to call you after the rapid fire, but of course
so
I want to.
I just have a question for the two brilliant men here. So, we are talking about equality, which is fair enough. That's today's topic. But like Shivani said, most of the women I come to talk to, they're not going through this. And when we say communication, it has to be two ways. The wife is communicating and the husband does not care, or vice versa. It does not work anyway, right? So there is no one-stop solution or one rule that will help couples to sort the problem. So what I want to ask to both of you is very different than probably what you were guessing. So I'm sure you also have friends where you see inequality, where you feel, from within that I wish the man would, think differently or do a bit differently or take a little more care of his wife. Have you ever, any of you, pitched in and tried to tell them something or change the scenario there? This is just one question that I want to know. Any of you? Because we often play escapists, we don't get into conflicts, we don't get into confrontations, and we just stay away. But because even the lives, these lives that we are doing, whoever is watching will be mostly women. We women are talking what men should be doing. We women know what men should be doing. We are writing blogs, we are writing articles. Where are men actually? Though things are changing a lot, but the majority is still where it was maybe 20 years back. Nothing much has changed. Women are suffering. So I want to know, have you ever tried to change anything in your family, close friend, anywhere?
Absolutely. So, Anjan, may I go first?
Yes, absolutely. Sure.
Okay. So with a couple of close friends where I know there have been certain issues, the first thing is I can only pitch in when there is a listening from the other side. Otherwise, obviously, it's difficult, right? So one is wherever I've actually spoken one-on-one with some of my friends, male friends, who were playing the victim card while speaking with me. Whereas I could understand that, the reality was something different at home. And then making him understand, that it's not easy for one person to leave a family where she has spent the entire childhood and moved to a completely different culture, where he cannot expect her to gel overnight. And when he goes to work, you actually don't know what kind of taunts or other things she is going through at home. Sometimes it happens, right? And she may not be able to come out. So I had to make him realize the entire side of the other picture, and then relate with, from the woman's side, so that, and make him think from the. It's like put himself in the other shoes to a larger extent, see, feel, empathize with that, and then, yeah, fortunately, two of them were able to save their marriages. So I'm happy for them. And on the other side, on a broader scale, as Shivani knows, what I try to do is, like in some of my posts, I I try to put very ordinary actions of mine over there. Sometimes I feel, why am I doing it? It's very odd. But the idea is, for example, एक फुल्का बना दिया, like it's a daily part of a daily cooking. लेकिन उसका पोस्ट बना के डालूंगा, and then I'll put dad's can cook. So the idea is, it's not that something special has to be done. In your everyday ordinary things, you can be extraordinary, right? And that is, it's about actually sharing everything together, and living together, basically, right? And living together with the equal respect. And yeah, I mean, like yesterday, I was spontaneously chatting with Veda Prana. For me, what is gender equality? Is like, right now, among the four video cameras which are on, right? There are 2 male bodies and 4 female bodies which are present. But then, whom are we speaking to? We are speaking soul to soul. We are speaking spirit to spirit, mind to mind. The bodies that we belong to have nothing to do with it, right? So, apart from the fact that there are certain biological reasons why there is a male and female, most of the time, 99.9% of the times, we are interacting soul to soul, mind to mind, and that's where the interaction is. And when we connect that way, so it's beyond gender equality, it's beyond genders. We are leaving the bodies aside and we are communicating. So that is something I dream of in the long run, where the connectivity happens across.
Gender will not be the.
Yeah,
Gender won't be coming in between us.
Yeah, it transcends.
This is something that I do. I would endorse that Vinod's post, even that simple fulka. You have to see the number of comments of women coming and commenting, "Itna sundar, I will show it to my husband," or something like that. Somewhere I imagine that when women see it, they start expecting. So the bottom line, I think, for all the women who might be hearing, is that we have to be setting up our benchmarks higher. So I remember the line that Sleepless in Seattle, one of the characters says that, marriage is hard enough without bringing in such low expectations. So let's I think, as Rupali said, non-negotiables. So somewhere women have to put their foot down, and women's parents as well, because often they are the ones who are taking those decisions. That what are the non-negotiable things? My daughter is going to work or not going to work, or whether she knows how to cook. And also the parents need to remember that it's not on them. I mean, this is something that we have to really fight. It's not just the in-laws that we are worried about, it's our own parents, because every action of ours, they assume is an extrapolation of their upbringing. So I think all the women who hear us, they need to sort this out with their parents first of all, and then whatever decisions they take about marriage. But I think Anjan still has to answer Veda's question.
Do you want to answer if you have done anything like that?
I have done a few number of times professionally.
Okay.
But if it is on a personal note, I mean, like, I find it very sensitive, and I normally do not. I don't think I should. I don't get the guts to really move on and say things unless the person is, say, I have a friend and he is. He has something to ask of me, or he has a complaint, like this is what's happening, or something, whatever he is willing to share. That is the only time I have given any kind of, if not I wouldn't call it an advice, maybe some suggestions. Why don't you try doing this and that? If I'm, if I can understand a little more about the reason why things are in a state of that turmoil. So I would try, but then I have not really gone the depth at which Vinod just mentioned. I have not been there. Professionally is a very different thing, but on a personal basis, I have not done it yet.
No, but that's okay too, right? Even professionally, if one person changes with him, another few will change. So that's what we are talking about, because we are raising sons who we think will be different, like, influencers and all. But what about this generation?
Absolutely.
This generation also needs help. We can't just keep on thinking that our sons will grow up to be great, men or fathers or husbands. What about the husbands now? So this is one thing that is very important, and I hope people like you will come forward to, change a bit, even if one person, that is also great. So Shivani, you can carry on. I did not have much to say today.
No. Very, very quickly, because we are close to an hour now that we've been talking, and we can really go on. I can see that. So we'll take Vinod and Preeti first. Any of you can answer. Who gets more sleep on the weekends? All right. You agree, Preeti, or he's just...
He's just telling me he doesn't. I'm the one who sleeps late, and I tell him I'm not waking up.
So who's cribbing now that the classes are starting offline between the two of you?
I didn't get the question.
I don't
Now classes will be offline. So morning, who gets up to get
Acha,
the
that's it. Yeah. So basically, I do get up
we both wake
early,
up, but the only thing is my son loves my cooking.
Yeah.
So he prefers that the tiffin is cooked by me. So I have to, because there's one thing that is different in our house. Like, we don't keep cooks. My son doesn't like anybody's cooking, so I end up cooking.
When he has both of you, I've seen at least a bit of Vinod's, so I know what we are up against. So I'm sure the cook can never match that. Who handles the online bill payments and everything? Something that I am very wary of. All right. Still, and who gets more me time? This was a question I was asked, so I was very curious.
Me
Who gets
time.
more me time?
I'll obviously get me time because सुबह 4 बजे उठ जाता हूँ यार.
Oh,
I met him online there, right?
Yeah.
The first time I spoke to him, it was very early, and he said,
Right,
"Do you
that's
also
right.
get up so early?" I said, "No, I don't get up at 4 a.m."
I can sleep at 4, but getting up, no.
Same here, same.
Who deals with the house help? Okay.
Me.
And last question: Virat Kohli or Mithali Raj?
Mithali Raj, obviously.
Oh my God! My husband is going to call you. He will love you more. All right, over to you, Anjan and Rupali. Same questions. Who gets more sleep on weekends between both of you?
I wake up at 4 and sleep at.
What's wrong with these men?
Force him to sleep, okay? This guy, he gets up at 4, and even on Sundays, right, when he doesn't, and I have asked to Soja for some time, right? And in the day, he's gone out for his cricket and all. And so I think both of us are, not people who sleep a lot, right? So, but compared, I think at night, because I get up at 5:36, so I get more sleep comparatively than him.
All right.
Yeah.
At least there is a comparative, thankfully. In your case, I don't think the school still start. Your kid is still smaller, so no point asking.
No,
We started going a while
we were
back.
the first parents to say, okay, we're going to send when they asked, right?
But anyway, since you get up at 5:34, so no point asking that. Who does the bill payments, the online net banking and stuff? Who's better at it? Oh, I'm so happy to hear this because I'm still scared of it. And I want to hear this more so that, I get over it. And the me time...
Missing it. I know.
No, you are a very smart man. And Anjan, I realize that very well. You've got it all worked out very nicely. We're talking after this. So anyway, and who gets more me time between the two of you?
I guess neither of us.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Not much. I think it will be a very tough competition, like who gets less me time.
But I think I am the kind of person who asks for it, right? Sometimes, or he will never complain. He'll say, but sometimes I get hassled. I say, 1 hour, can you just take care of him and can I just be alone? Maybe, So he never demands that. But yeah, if given I am the one, maybe sometime back of the mind, maybe I'm beating myself that I'm not getting enough me time.
She works harder, so I think she deserves a little more.
That's sweet.
Just being.
That's very nice of you to say. Okay, Virat Kohli and Mithali Raj. This is my husband's question. So
Virat Kohli.
Totally.
All right.
Nothing to do with gender.
Yeah. Nothing. He just
But you still have her heart.
I just
No, my husband, initially we thought Virat Kohli or Mitali Raj. Then he was like, would you want to put Sachin Tendulkar? I said no. Tendulkar डाल दिया तो वो फिर वो God वाला level हो जाएगा तो वो comparison नहीं देना.
मैं तभी भी Kohli I would have said.
Okay. It was about a female and a male player basically, because a lot of female cricket is going on and he follows it quite a bit. My daughter plays cricket, so it was an obvious question coming from us. It has been so good talking to you. You have no idea. I don't want to stop, but I can see the clock. We are past 1 hour. But having spoken to both of you is very validating for me personally, because as I said that, as Veda said initially, that equality is something I really get a kick out of. And to me, two real flesh and blood couples, who are talking about equality as if it's a walk in the park, that's something that doesn't happen very often. So many women I still meet. I mean, I'm a doctor myself, and I've had postgraduate students who have been in various stages, about to get married, getting married, 2 years into marriage, young girls and boys as well, facing equality issues despite the best of education. And the things that we've talked about today is something that I have been, more than the MD curriculum that I used to be talking to them, it was often about relationships. And I still remember how the kind of things that they would come up with. It was very difficult for me to understand how in this age, this generation, and this kind of qualification, do women have to talk about, my mother-in-law still expects me to cook and come. And we had to report at 7 in the morning. Sometimes we had nights and everything. So I have never been able to understand why equality is still not on the table. Why is it not a non-negotiable still? And also I feel the incentive, the question that I had put to you, I feel for every man, the incentive here should be, when I look at Vinod and Anjan, I feel that they have been free to pursue their passions. Anjan took up a fitness, he went into the fitness and wellness industry. Vinod took up a hydroponics entrepreneurship. I feel that would they have been able to do this had their wives not been financially independent, capable enough to support their dreams? So for me, maybe yes, I have often gotten that look in people's eyes that, oh, your husband will finance your dream to become a writer, which is very demeaning to me because I am a doctor in my own right, but I have stopped proving that point now. So, but when it comes from the other side, when I look at both your examples, now I can tell people that, men are also free to choose their dreams. And there are, if you have built a relationship based on equality, you can actually lean on it. And if nothing else, I feel that the socioeconomic strata, you can always jump up a bit if both the partners are working and generating income. Even if it's a homemaker, one of you is a homemaker, I still feel that you bring in a different kind of equanimity and peace and more growth, potential for growth for yourself and for your child. So I don't know why equality is still not in the equation, and I hope that talks like these and subsequently as we move on, I hope that we talk more often about things like these and more people like Anjan and Rupali and Vinod and Preeti come over.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I mean, I'm really happy that we've done this talk. Thank you, Veda, I don't know why you picked me up, but I'm so happy.
No, because I knew you were a pro at this, so this is the reason.
No, but truly, I mean, I couldn't have said it with more sincerity. I anyway always wanted to talk to Vinod, and this has been a good reason to do that. But I never thought I'll get in the bargain. I'll get to meet Preeti, Anjan, and Rupali as well. It has been such a pleasure. Completely an honor and such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
More power.
Great connecting. We'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
Yes, surely.
We need to taste your cooking definitely.
Yeah.
Now we have.
And I think all of you are in Bangalore, so yes. And I am coming over the moment Hong Kong borders are opening. So you wait for me. I am unleashing myself.
Yeah.
So,
And thanks to Veda Prana. Thanks to Tivani, and
Pleasure
thanks.
is all mine.
Today I've made another two new friends, Anjan and.
Yes.
I'm loving the this Women's Day. I wanted to do it on 8th, but it since Preeti and Rupali both are busy on 8th, so we had to prepone it. But I'm so happy that we did it with men this time.
Yes.
Because see, there will be not another woman without a man, right? So we need men in all steps of life. And I say it very loudly and very proud, if men don't support me, I cannot do anything. So there is nothing like this, I'm very confused with the feminism that people come up with these days, where they're only bashing men. I don't know that how this happens.
I agree.
Because I can't think of a world without them. So I'm very grateful to all the men, those who are actually standing by us, and two of you especially right now. Thanks for being our guests. And it's, though we are ending it here, but we have to talk again, and we have to, because you have to change the world. I'm looking forward to both of you.
Absolutely.
And Rupali and Preeti, you both are absolutely brilliant. You deserve the best.
Thank
Nice.
you so much. So we are at least I am where I am, and I'm sure Preeti would resonate with me.
No,
Because
thanks for engineering the luck in your favor. I'm glad you did it. So yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And we'll talk to Anjan offline, right?
now I'm going to talk to
You
you.
are taking part.
All right.
Yeah, nice talking to all of you. It was a beautiful
Bye.
evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.
You
Bye-bye.
too, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.